In just a few minutes, I'm about to take you through 10 of Africa's most incredible safari destinations. Whether you're adding to your bucket list or simply dreaming of your next adventure, you're in the right place. So I hope you're somewhere comfortable, get a pillow, get a blanket, maybe a coffee or tea, and create a cozy space as we embark on this journey together. The Jonathan Benaya podcast is made possible by our Patreons. Nuggets from this conversation will also feature on the Africa Safari podcast, our sister show. The Africa Safari podcast, with several co-hosts from all across the African continent, brings you an immersive safari experience from wherever you are. Like this show, it will soon be available on all major streaming platforms including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Castbox, Pandora, and more. The conversation begins right after this short break. I'm your host, Jonathan Benaya, and this is the Jonathan Benaya Podcast. What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome to the Jonathan Benaya Podcast, a show that is wild, very wild. We are proudly Uganda's #1 conservation and tourism show, but we also benefit from a listenership from all across the African continent and the world at large. We try to put out a new episode every Sunday with discussions ranging around how to make the natural world a better place, creating awesome images, telling stories with words, wildlife films and photography, with occasional musings on sound and tech. If these topics fascinate you as much as they interest me, I promise you this podcast will have you in a spin. I do share a lot of my personal experiences, and from time to time, I'll have one or two guests on the podcast to have some very insightful discussions. So thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy your time here. Alright guys, welcome back to the Jonathan Benaya podcast, where we dive into the wonders of our world, capturing the beauty of wildlife, conservation, travel, photography, filmmaking, and storytelling. Today we will be going on a journey through my top 10 safari destinations for 2024. Let's head to some of Africa's most breathtaking landscapes, each with its unique charm and wildlife encounters that will leave you forever in awe. We begin our journey in southern Africa with Namibia's Etosha National Park, which is in 10th position. Etosha is known for its vast salt pan, which becomes a shimmering oasis after the rains, attracting countless animals to drink. This environment offers breathtaking scenes, with species adapted to the harsh landscape. You've got black rhinos, lions, and elephants gathering around the park's numerous waterholes. Especially, I think there's a popular one called the Okakwejo waterhole, where you have so many animals and so many different colors. You know, the Okakwejo waterhole alone is famous for dense animal activity, drawing everything from herds of antelope to prides of lions, leopards, elephants, giraffes, and more. Watching these animals survive and thrive in such a rugged, semi-arid landscape is truly, truly remarkable. And it's a great destination for safari lovers. So that's number 10, Etosha National Park in Namibia. Next, in position 9, we travel to Tanzania's Nyerere National Park, which was actually previously known as the Sealess Game Reserve. I don't know if I pronounced that right. It was obviously named in honor of Tanzania's first president, that's Julius Nyerere, for his work in wildlife conservation. This park feels like a slice of untamed Africa, combining dry savanna landscapes with winding rivers and beautiful lakes. Nyerere is one of the largest game reserves in Africa and home to one of the biggest populations of African wild dogs, also called African painted dogs. You also have elephants, you also have hippos, crocodiles that tend to fill the riverbank. The diversity and abundance of life here make it a true African gem, especially around its iconic water sources. Another really cool thing is that it's quieter than some of the more famous parks in the region, in the East African region. This gives you a chance to see African wildlife at its best, away from the safari crowds, as we tend to call them. Yeah, so folks like me who enjoy a safari away from the crowds, there you go. Nyerere National Park should be on your list. That's number 9. And let's just move on to the park in position number 8 on my list of top safari destinations in 2024 as we look forward to 2025. And to this, we will have to head into the dense, misty jungles of Uganda to the Bwindi Impenetrable National Park, or call it Bwindi Impenetrable Forest, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most, I believe, biodiverse forests on Earth. It's also one of our planet's oldest and most important pockets of true rainforest, and I believe that's why UNESCO is hugely invested in it. Now, Bwindi is famous for its population of mountain gorillas, close to half of the world's remaining population. Gorilla trekking here is an awe-inspiring experience. It's a totally different kind of safari as you hike through dense, lush jungle to encounter these, we like to call them gentle giants, when you come face to face with them, and it's usually just a few meters away. They are a lot more gentle than the 20th century King Kong portrayed them. I don't know if you've watched that movie. When you go gorilla trekking, you get an hour with them. You are able to take plenty of photos and videos as possible. And I must tell you, it's an hour that really races by so fast, but it's one that is often filled with lots and lots of emotions. And I've seen countless visitors cry in the moment and after the moment, and just people sitting there in utter awe. I also strongly recommend participating in the gorilla habituation experience, which is basically you joining a team of rangers and scientists as they habituate, or if I could break it down, it's basically getting a wild gorilla family used, or call it accustomed to, human visits. The habituation experience lets you spend extra time observing gorillas as they go about their day. I think you get about 4 hours, up to 4 hours in the presence of the mountain gorillas. The standard gorilla trek, as I said, is just 1 hour. With the habituation, you get 4 hours in the presence of these incredible apes. And obviously you have to pay a bit more money, but it's worth every minute. It is indeed a cool and rare experience that allows you to get an even deeper understanding of the science that has gone into the conservation of this species and all the efforts that have led to pulling this species of great apes further away from the brink of extinction. And it's so nice to see that the numbers of mountain gorillas have grown from a delicate state several years ago, where there are, I guess, just shy of 300 individuals in the world, and now we have 1,063 mountain gorillas in the world. Alright, I had to give a bit more time and detail to Bwindi as, spoiler alert, it's the only destination on the list that is not, if I could say, your contemporary savanna destination. Alright, now moving on to 7th place, we have Botswana's Okavango Delta, which offers one of the most enchanting landscapes in all of Africa. This massive inland delta covers an area spanning over 5,000 square miles in the heart of the famous Kalahari Desert. Now, the Okavango floods seasonally, creating a labyrinth of water channels, lagoons, and islands that teem with wildlife. Here you can spot some really large elephant herds. Of course, Botswana is known for some of the biggest, actually quite possibly the largest elephant herds on the whole planet. Particularly during the dry season, you get to see them as they come to converge on the delta to drink and also have a water bath, bathe in the water. You also have the chance to see lions, hippos, and even the elusive leopard. Whatever you do, make sure to visit the Okavango, and when you're there, do not miss a Mokoro ride. Mokoro is basically a traditional dugout canoe that majority of them are not sailed, paddled by locals from around the area. So it's a great experience that really takes you quietly through the waterways, bringing you up close to the wildlife for some really intimate moments and fantastic photography opportunities. Maybe I should also say that the Okavango Delta is not just stunning, but it is a critical ecosystem that is under unfortunate environmental pressure. This makes it a hotspot for so many conservation efforts, and it makes its conservation a lot more essential. I believe with every visit, a percentage goes back into conserving the reserve and basically bettering the lives of the locals that live around it. And when I was at the Pride Lands Wildlife Film Festival, I think they screened a movie film called Into the Okavango, I believe. It's a production in collaboration with National Geographic, and I understand there's quite a lot of work that National Geographic is doing to further highlight the conservation status of this top African safari destination and the wildlife habitat that it is. Yeah, so that's the Okavango in position number 7. Alright, moving on to position number 6, we have Kenya's Masai Mara, which honestly speaking is world renowned and needs very little introduction. Of course, you've got the dramatic spectacle of the Great Migration, where you basically have millions of wild beasts, zebras and gazelles braving crocodile-infested rivers to cross into the Mara from the Tanzanian side. Beyond the migration, the Masai Mara offers year-round wildlife sightings, including the African Big Five and an astounding number of bird species as well. The Mara is also known for its rich Masai culture. Of course, partly explains where the name Masai Mara comes from. And visits to the Masai allow travelers to learn from them and also interact with them at a deeper and more personal level. With its vast savannas and thrilling predator-prey interactions, it's easy to see why the Masai Mara has basically maintained its position as one of the most iconic safari destinations on the whole of the African continent. And obviously, if you are traveling in the high season, I must tell you, especially, it's basically when you really have those big migrations happening, your greatest chance, of course, to see them. But then there is also a number of tourists like you that are also hoping to be there at the same time. So there's usually a buzz of activity, and it can get annoyingly crowded. So just a heads up for you as you plan. Hopefully this is something that can be solved in the future. I know there's challenges of mass tourism, that it's usually easier to get there than it is to fix it, but hopefully this can be corrected as we go along. I'm not sure how, but that would work out well for the conservation of the wildlife in the Mara and just basically the entire visitor experience. But largely, Masai Mara is definitely one of the most stunning African safari parks and ranks number 6 on my list. Next, we move to Zambia's Lower Zambezi National Park, which is in 5th position. So that's going back down to Southern Africa. Now, Lower Zambezi, as the name states, is nestled along the mighty Zambezi River. This park provides an almost cinematic safari experience, where you can basically watch elephants, you can see hippos and buffalo as they gather along the river without even having to leave your lodge. But of course, the real vibe of being in the wild is that you go out on a game drive, a boat safari, which are great ways to enjoy the incredible biodiversity, including large predators like lions, leopards that roam the plains. The park's natural beauty and this remote location make it a must visit for anyone looking for what we tend to call the off-the-beaten-path safari experience. Yeah, so Lower Zambezi is a great destination for sure, and that's one to add to your bucket list. And moving on to position number 4, we'll have to stay in Zambia. That's a win for Zambia. Destination number 4 is South Luangwa, and that's another jewel in Southern Africa. It's known for its high concentration of leopards. This park is ideal for travelers hoping to spot Africa's most elusive big cats. Some of the best leopard sightings are found here. Of course, quite a number happen down south in Southern Africa. Rather in South Africa, where you have destinations like Sabi, Sands, and Mala Mala, which would be more popular for leopard sightings. But South Luangwa is equally amazing for travelers that are hoping to see and really have those beautiful close-up leopard encounters. The Luangwa River snakes around the park, providing sustenance for a wide range of animals. South Luangwa is also the birthplace of walking safaris, as we know them, call them bushwalks, nature walks, and it basically offers an immersive way to get closer to the elements and experience the bush on foot. Of course, you're guided by expert trackers who help you identify the biodiversity and also find the wildlife. But then you also have rangers that are ensuring that you are safe as you walk through this truly wild landscape. The variety of landscapes, wildlife densities, and intimate viewing opportunities make this park an unforgettable African destination, and it's definitely one I strongly recommend you add to your bucket list. And now with just 3 more to go, this is your reminder to subscribe to the podcast. As we said, the Jonathan Bernard podcast is available on all major streaming platforms. Please leave us a like, and if you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, do not hesitate to leave us a star rating and a review as well. Alright, in third position, we'll be moving to a neighbor of Zambia, and that's Zimbabwe. And we'll go to the stunning Mana Pools National Park. Now, Mana Pools offers a wild, unspoiled landscape along the banks of the Zambezi River. With its ancient woodlands and broad river views, it's easy to see why Mana Pools feels like the proverbial Garden of Eden. Well, you might get lucky to spot Boswell. If you didn't know, Boswell is a famous tusker. Tuskers are basically elephants with really huge, long tusks, which some people call ivory. It's a word I really don't like to use. I like to call them tusks. Those those long bone-like structures that grow out of the elephant side. And now Boswell is known for his unique ability to stand on his hind legs and reach for high branches. And I believe he's one of the most documented elephants on the African continent and quite possibly on the planet at large. A majority of the photos you see from like Southern Africa, where you have an elephant reaching up to feed in the tree with its 2 front legs in the air, that's usually, most of the times, it is the famous Boswell elephant. And if you camp along the Zambezi River, you quite certainly might be able to interface with him at least on one of the days that you are in this beautiful safari destination. Now, Mana Pools is a paradise for photographers with its soft light, especially in the mornings and evenings. Those tall trees that basically create a beautiful backdrop as elephants go through, basically dwarfing the elephants and making them kind of disappear into the bushland. But then you have animals like lions, you have wild dogs, you have a myriad of bird species, and a whole lot more. This park is both scenic and serene, with a touch of magic that makes it unlike anywhere else in Africa. And it's been my personal favorite for a long time. And of course, I definitely recommend that you add it to your bucket list. Alright, now let's move on to number 2 before we then hear who tops the list for 2024 Africa Safari destinations according to me. Now at number 2 is Uganda's Kidepo Valley National Park. And if you know me, this is no surprise. Kidepo is a sweetheart to me. It is a remote wilderness that really feels ancient and basically untouched by time. Whenever I'm there, I feel like I get to define time slightly different from how I usually do when I'm back in the city. Those sweeping plains, the dramatic mountain ranges, and the isolated savanna landscapes are simply breathtaking. Wildlife sightings here feel personal and exclusive, and I think this is usually the biggest pull for travelers that come here. Kidepo for me is a destination for the more experienced safari goers, like people who have seen it all and now are looking for, if I could call it, safari heaven, that is far away and different from what you've experienced elsewhere. It's definitely less crowded than many other parks in the region, and this allows for undisturbed encounters with animals like lions, elephants, and even cheetahs. Surrounding the park, you've got the Karamojong communities with a different tribal subgroups. Talk of Matheniko, the Bokora, the Jay, the Pian. Of course, the Pian are probably just further down. But you have the Karamojongs. I think that up to seven subgroups. And each time I'm up there in Kidepo, I get immersed in these communities, and there's always something new to learn. Kidepo continues to be one of my favorite places to be, and it is where my conservation journey began, and basically my photography and filmmaking bug. That's where I really got bitten by that bug to wander and tell stories about conservation and about wildlife and tourism at large. This true wilderness combines incredible landscapes, wildlife, cultural insights to basically create a cake and make this one really perfect safari destination. Of course, the animals may be hard to find, and that adds to the treasure hunt. You feel a lot more satisfied or accomplished when you find the animal, because it involves a bit of treasure hunting, and when you find them, it's just you and the wild, and those beautiful natural sounds, the peace, the solitude. I could keep talking about Kidepo. So that's my kind of vibe, and that's why Kidepo is number 2, and it has been in this position for a while. Definitely my best safari destination in Uganda, and one of my personal favorites on the whole of the African continent. And finally, at number 1, I think you already guessed, we have the legendary Serengeti National Park. Now, its name means endless plains, and I believe this is fitting because the Serengeti stretches as far as the eye can see, and it's filled with an abundance of wildlife. It's home to the African Big Five and plays host to the Great Migration, which they basically share with Masai Mara in Kenya. But I believe the calving season takes place in Serengeti, where the wildebeest basically give birth before they migrate up to Masai Mara later on in the year. And I feel the calving season is one that I think needs a bit more spotlighting. I know quite a number of people just go to the Masai Mara to just capture the same photos of the crossing, but the calving season is one particularly spectacular one as well, where you have thousands of newborns being brought to life, but also attracting predators and basically adding to the drama of this iconic landscape. I'm actually planning a trip to capture this special calving period with some filmmaker friends of mine in Arusha. That should be sometime next year, so keep an eye on my platforms for that activity. But the Serengeti offers an incredible safari experience. You also have the opportunity of doing the balloon safari, which gives you a bird's eye view of the plains below. It's a place of awe and beauty, despite the crowds like Masai Mara, of course, and I think it deserves every bit of its reputation. Like the Mara, it's definitely one of the most known safari destinations, and when you go there, you will surely see why it deserves this first place. And there you have it, my top 10 safari destinations for 2024. If you're planning to explore Africa in 2025 or even 2026 and beyond, any of these destinations will leave you with memories of a lifetime. I hope you enjoyed this journey as much as I did. If you love this rundown of Africa's top safari destinations, go ahead and hit the like button, share the link, and let's keep this conversation going beyond the podcast. If you want more of these chats, subscribe to the podcast and check out past episodes for more insights. And as I said, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a star rating before you go. That really helps us reach more people, and as we say, the algorithm likes that. The Jonathan Benar podcast is available on all major streaming platforms, including Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you access your podcasts from. If you'd like to contribute to future discussions or have questions, email me directly at contact@jonathanbenar.com or ahabenathan@pm.me. Both emails are linked in the show notes below. And maybe before I leave, I'd like to say thank you to our Patreons once again for your support. It's your pledges that keep the show alive and really keep us creating and bringing you this awesome content. Alright, and that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and let's meet again in the next one.
The Jonathan Benaya podcast is not only inspired by nature and travel, but by the people that work in it and those that are passionate about it.